You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, please go ahead and get us started.
Hi, I'm Ivan Zach. I'm excited to be here and excited to see you in person, Shawn, yesterday. Sometimes I forget you have legs.
Yeah, it was neat to see you in 3 dimensions. You still exist.
Yeah. Well, I am excited to introduce our guest today, Amy Nichols. Amy is in the company called GoodFriend by Kinship, and she is an award-winning entrepreneur and visionary senior executive, culture creator, collaborative leader, idea generator, problem solver, lifelong learner. Throughout her career, Amy has created new and unique business models, marketing and brand campaigns, and nonprofit growth strategies. In 2002, she created Dogtopia, a dog daycare and boarding business that she franchised in 2005. Through passionate franchisees and a mission based culture, they grew it across the United States and into Canada. It was a true labor of love and something Amy will forever be proud of. With a successful exit from Dogtopia in 2015, Amy was able to take time to reflect on her next adventure. After a brief stint with technology startups and several incredible years in animal welfare, she has found herself returning to her pet care roots with the GoodFriend by Kinship. Amy couldn't be more thrilled to be working on a cutting edge platform connecting pet parents with pet care professionals. Amy, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time.
Well, thank you. That was a great intro. It's almost like someone wrote it, perhaps myself. It's very thorough.
It's very, very interesting journey. Can you tell me, and we're gonna talk about GoodFriend by Kinship, but how did you get on the entrepreneurial road? And it is an addictive path, and usually people, once they get on it, they never get off it. So, how did your career? Where did it come from? Where did it start, and got you into pet industry and creating originally Dogtopia?
Sure. So yeah, I have a very good friend who said that I would be perpetually unhireable because of being an entrepreneur and a true entrepreneur, and that I really want to disrupt spaces, but also create, things that are brand new. And that was the case with Dogtopia. I wasn't new to the pet industry necessarily. I actually worked in pet retail all through high school and into college as kind of was my part-time job. But what it introduced me to is I knew I didn't want to sell pets. Or be involved in the selling of animals. I also didn't like the idea that they were isolated all day, and that they were in crates. For the most part, any boarding facilities, the idea in the early 2000s was really about keeping dogs separate and therefore safe while they were boarding. I wanted to do something different, and I started researching and learning about pack behavior among dogs and how I could safely manage it. Did a lot of dog training work, many seminars, but ultimately what I wanted to create and build was a dog daycare business where pet parents could drop their dogs off in the morning. They'd play all day. They'd have a nap period with their snack or their lunch, play into the afternoon, and then be picked up in the evening. So this was all the way back in 2001. So I officially launched Dogtopia in 2002. And it was successful pretty quickly, actually. This was in Northern Virginia, outside of DC. It was a great market to do it, and a lot of early .com tech work going on in the area. So we had a lot of pet parents that were working long hours, needed some place to take their pet. So it was an adventure, but also super fun. And a couple of years, actually, first full year open, we hit $1 million in revenue. And that's when I knew this is something I need to figure out how I replicate and how do I produce more of these. And ultimately, I chose to go the franchising route and assist other folks getting into business. But being a true entrepreneur, I think I probably would do it a little differently next if I were to do another ground. So just a lot that I've learned over the years. And then I'd just add to, I spent 4 years in animal welfare at the Humane Society of the United States. And that really gave me much broader national perspective on the pet industry, working with the largest companies, the PetSmarts and the Petcos, but also all of the nonprofit work and shelter work was very interesting. And that definitely impacts the way I kind of look at the overall space now. And being very fortunate to work with a lot of veterinarians as well, and really understanding the access to care issues and the challenges that are out there.
That's a phenomenal story. I like how you said that you're non-hireable. I think both Shawn and I are in the same boat. We're non-hireable, and for different reasons. And but that's why Shawn is doing podcast.
I clearly am hireable because I was hired, but it is something that makes sense. I mean, there aren't too many opportunities where you can truly come into a larger corporate environment and be your entrepreneurial self, which is something though that I've been able to find where I'm currently working, which we'll talk about in a bit, I guess.
Well, tell us about that. So, what does GoodFriend do, and also tell us about kinship. What is kinship, and what is GoodFriend, and what do you do in it?
So I'm a part of Mars, the Mars family of companies, Mars Pet Care specifically. So very large. A lot of people have heard of Mars, but they've heard of it because of M&Ms and Snickers and the whole confectionery side of the business, which is very substantial and north of 25 billion a year. But the pet care side is the sleeping and quiet giant that is actually equal in size to the confectionery business, but it is over 20 brands strong. So it's been very interesting getting to know all of the divisions in Mars. So Royal Canin is one of our divisions. We also have Pedigree. We have Greenies. We have lots of different brands that are all under the Mars umbrella. Mars also has what we call a data and technology division. We are one of the smallest, and that's Kinship. And so we're based in New York City. We also have an office in San Francisco. And we've kind of collected a lot of innovators, entrepreneurial folks, a lot of data, technology, and engineers. And we're working on what we see as the future of pet care. What do we need to create? What can we create to better support pet parents, and then very specifically millennial and Gen Z pet parents, which have very different expectations for service delivery and how they communicate with their service providers than I think previous generations.
That's fascinating. So let's double click on GoodFriend. So looks like a marketplace. We've had several of them on the show. One marketplace company no longer exists, at least one that I know of. So what are you guys doing different? I mean, obviously the depth and breadth of Mars as a pet and animal health company gives you some advantages, but what's going on at GoodFriend?
Sure. It's a great question because one, marketplaces are very complex and difficult to get stood up, and even more difficult to grow both sides of the marketplace. I think the biggest differentiator for us is that we're the only one that is offering multiple services on one platform. So GoodFriend is currently, we're doing a pretty in-depth test in Philadelphia, but we are ready. We are technically national right now, where you could go on and you can use our full directory. I think we have the most thorough directory of veterinarians in the US, so you can find any veterinarian information. But we also have real-time booking. And so the idea is, and this is a work in progress because we have to get the veterinarians and the business owners on board with wanting to do this. That's a whole separate subject we can talk about. But offering real-time appointment availability. So rather than calling around either to groomers or vets or trainers, you can actually see on the site who's available, what time, and then book your appointment.
So what's the business model behind it? So you are not the provider, right? And you're building the platform. And then from what I hear, you're facilitating the lead gen. Would that be fair to say? And the booking. And then what do all the participants get out of it? And how does the business model work? If it's not a proprietary secret, whatever you're allowed to
It's
say.
multi-million dollar, if not billion-dollar question, right? How do you make this work? How do we grow both sides? So the monetization strategy, there is a bigger picture to GoodFriend. So GoodFriend itself is what I would consider the services marketplace. But ultimately, what Kinship is building is a full pet parent platform. So I can't get into too many details on that right now. It will be launching in 2023. Super exciting. And one of the biggest advantages is it will finally have one place to put a pet parent can put all of their pet's information, keep it secure, and then also share it with service providers. So that's where they kind of come together. So there's a value for pet parents in having one place where they can put microchip and vaccinations and every other information they want to keep on their pet and keep it up to date. So the ultimate model is subscription for pet parents. And so in addition to the ability to book appointments, the ability to store all of their information about their pet, there also is a content piece, and that's the Wildest, which is our sister platform that provides really great lifestyle content for pet parents. And then lastly, our sister brand also is Adopt-A-Pet, and Adopt-A-Pet is one of the top sites to go to find a pet that you want to adopt. So as if you can imagine, maybe I can come back on in like 6 months and I can tell you the big picture,
Of course.
because I'd love to, because it gets a lot more compelling and interesting when you start pulling all of these things together. And so that's the secret sauce, having existing successful platforms, putting it all in one place and making it very easy for the pet parent to navigate and utilize.
So, Amy, tactical questions now. So I'm on GoodFriend's site. You said Philly is a market that you're pretty well deployed in and populated in. There's a ton of non-Mars Pet Health hospitals here. Were those all populated by the individual hospitals, or have you guys pulled in all of that data to build the platform?
So we pulled all of that data in. So
Got
we
it.
actually partnered with VetSource to make sure we had the most complete list of veterinary hospitals across the country. And
it.
you're giving me a good preview because we will be launching Vet in Philadelphia also. So there's two kind of versions, and any vet and any pet business can be listed on the platform and should be. That's our goal, is to have everyone listed. But there are ways to prioritize your listing, to enhance your listing. If you look at groomers on Philadelphia as an example right now, you'll see that they're enhanced profile listings. They indicate if they're woman owned. They indicate, an example that would have been helpful is if what their strategy is around COVID. Are they taking inside appointments? Also, one of the things we did is we scraped reviews for thousands of businesses to pull out the phrases and words that pet parents were using most often to describe a good experience. So interestingly enough, what we heard repeatedly, grooming, vet, any pet service, was they wanted to know that you cared about their pet. It's fascinating, both grooming, vet, everywhere. Absolutely table stakes. You have to be knowledgeable. You need to know your craft. You need to be, a bona fide veterinarian and have the skills. But what kept coming across is what promoted or prompted a pet parent to list in a review or go in and put a positive review, which is hard to get them to do that, was they truly care about my pet. I know that they care about my pet. And it sounds so basic and simple, yet such a huge kind of compelling thing. So, yeah.
So, and I'm just so curious about this because I've seen several models like this. I've seen a couple, and as Shawn said, one come to mind, which they did almost exactly the same things, and I think that they even engaged tons and tons of pet parents on, I think, a free version, because they could essentially connect. They could, they had many people search it. They had all of this information on it, but I don't know if they actually succeeded in providing the value proposition to the clients to convert them into a paid customer. So is this something that you're prepared, or maybe it's the next 6 months question, but what is the value proposition that pet parents will be compelled to sign up for a recurrent subscription that truly kind of is delivering that value to them?
She saves all their medical records. Weren't you listening to her before, Ivan? All of the stuff's contained in the platform. They can transfer the records to another veterinary team.
I've seen that not being a motivator to monetize. That's why.
No, 100%. That's the question mark with any startup, online business, right? How are you going to actually make money on this thing? So it's a two-sided marketplace. I envision both sides having a subscription of some sort. Now, pet parents, it's free. It's actually free for providers right now as well. So we want to build the marketplace. We want to get a lot of interest on the site before we start charging a subscription. But the idea would be is what you're seeing right now will be built out further, but that will always be free, that ability. What would be the subscription base would be upgraded things. So for the veterinarian, for example, it could be you'll get lower merchant services rates if you utilize the GoodFriend platform, or you'll get a prioritized listing, or you'll get the ability to have 10 photos, different things like that for the provider. On the pet parent side, similar. You could also sign up some of our other sister companies like Wisdom Panel DNA and Whistle. We would be offering all of them substantial discounts by being part of our larger kind of kinship world.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that comes up to my mind right away is, and here we go, it's been a while since we've had like a really juicy episode. So, I mean, Mars Health, VCA, Banfield, Blue Pearl, a bunch of other providers in here. And now I'm Joe Schmo on the corner of 32nd Street in Manhattan. How do I get ahead of those guys in the listings if the platform's owned by the same company? And why would I put my information on your platform?
This is a good, juicy question. What I can tell you is that we are brand agnostic. We are out there to create the best experience for pet parents. not promote Mars Veterinary Health businesses. Now, will I be supporting them? And we have a team that works with them. Absolutely. They are, obviously they're one of the largest divisions of Mars Pet Care is Mars Veterinary Health, because it is composed of all of the Banfield, VCA, and Blue Pearl locations. But interestingly enough, my focus as the GM for the position is really working with the veterinarians that want to have real-time appointment availability online. And that's not always the largest. And it's actually quite the opposite. What we have found in our outreach, and as I've been talking with vets practices, it's the smaller, more tech progressive, pet parent oriented that have 5, 10, 15 locations. Those are the ones that are really excited about this.
But it seems like you've got this like monumental trust relationship that seems impossible, quite frankly. How do you build that bridge?
I think in a lot of our conversations, what we can offer them is something that doesn't exist, right? The ability to send tens of and ultimately hundreds of pet parents onto the site. And a lot of these, so let's use Banfield as an example. They have a customer app. I talk to them all the time and they say, why would I need this? I have a customer app. And I said, because your pet parents don't know you exist. Now, Banfield's one of the most well-known brands in veterinary industry, but not every pet parent knows who Banfield is. And there's a lot of new pet parents. Millennial pet parents are adopting and purchasing pets more than any other generation. So we're really about discovery, not just kind of ongoing continuing relationships. So, it's a great question. I can just tell you that we are not owned by Mars Veterinary Health. We are run separately on purpose. But the goal is just to get more veterinarians on there. When you look at the biggest of the big, they still only make up about 20% of all, maybe 25% of all veterinary locations, right? So I'm really focused on and interested in getting the independents the attention and the focus that they wouldn't get otherwise. So they can't compete with Banfield and VCA on Google AdWords, right? They're not going to be able to compete on advertising, but we can help highlight their business in the best possible light by their location and help pet parents find them.
So, and the only reason why we're so drilling into it, because we're excited, as you can tell. And the other reason why I'm excited, because this is something I wanted to build when I was in the years of SmartFlow. I actually was helping to stand up the platform where we saw the need of connecting actually groomers, veterinarians, and pet sitters and pet hotels, and then essentially building exactly what you're doing here. So that's why I'm excited about the concept and very interested in. So I've seen a lot of challenges that I ran into when I was designing the platform, and one of the challenges that I'm seeing, and it's interesting if you already thought how to overcome that, is that what you're saying is that, if I'm clearly understanding it, then it's a new lead gen, or is it an existing client management? What do you see it more as the new client lead generation, or existing client management for booking and stuff like that?
It's about new. It's about generating new pet parents, new patients. And I'll just add one other thing to it. I thought of right after I finished, when you asked the question about, competing with the Banfield and the VCAs, because I've had that conversation with them as well, because they don't want to be next to competition, right? They're like, why would I don't want to be next to these guys. And I said, we have an issue in this country, though. We don't have enough veterinarians and we don't have enough appointments. So, and this is where that kind of humane society background that I have comes into play, where I said, ultimately, I'm trying to solve the problem for pet parents that can't find somewhere to go, right? It's about servicing them. And I said, if you can't take them as a new customer, and many of their locations cannot, right? They're booked full. Wouldn't you want them to find someone else? Wouldn't you want them to find a great veterinarian in their area so they can care for their pet? And of course, they have to say yes to that, right? So I think that's another part of it, right? We're trying to, I kind of think of it as load balancing or managing capacity, right? We know we need more. There's a lot of other ways we can help the vet industry in that component. But if we can just help with that load balancing issue of, you don't have to call 5 veterinarians to see if they have an appointment. I can just show you on our site.
Yeah, no, that's great. And where I was going with the new lead generation, that's the sort of the challenge which appointment booking platforms are seeing, is that if you're a new lead generation, you'd rather not have someone automatically book into your calendar without knowing exactly what they're for, unless it's maybe well defined. And I'm just going probably too deep into technology.
No, this is all stuff that comes up when I talk with veterinarians and vet companies. So
Yeah, no, that's great. No, you know what? It was so exciting that we chewed up through 20 minutes. So I actually do want to see you back in about 6 months when you launch it, because you probably will be more free to talk about the things that you couldn't today. And then, and I'm very excited. This is something that I thought of, we actually was participating in something like that in 2015, and then we saw Bevel Bar come out with a similar thing, and it's just exciting if someone solves for it. So it's a great set of problems to solve for on the open market. So it'll be very exciting to see how you progress, and thank you for coming to the show. We have two questions that we ask at the end usually. One, is there a book, a TED Talk, a video, or movie that you've recently seen that inspired you and you want to share with our listeners?
I had a couple of thoughts on that. One, I'm a big fan of Brené Brown's podcast. So if I wasn't listening to yours, that's the one I would recommend that people listen to from an inspirational, motivational standpoint. The book that I loved, and it really helped me work with, our industry is full of passionate people, right? Sometimes to our own detriment, because we can get caught up in that. But a book I read that really helped me a lot it's called Rebel Talent. Francesca Gino. She's actually a Harvard Business School professor. I actually attended a seminar by her, got her book, and it's fantastic. It really helps you understand people that are motivated by passion. They may not do things exactly the way you want to, but they can help you just exponentially grow and develop. And so I recommend that book. Take a look. She's fantastic. She has quite a few videos online as well, but the book is well worth it.
Awesome, Amy. There's a Dogtopia when I look out my window from my office in Halifax. So pretty neat to have the conversation with the person that founded it. Really appreciate your energy and enthusiasm. Really great episode. I wish we had an hour and a half to talk about it instead of 20 minutes, but we have a promise to our listeners. So the last question is another innovator, somebody you think we should have on the show.
Well, the person that came to mind initially is Spencer Bain. So he is our chief brand officer at Kinship. And he's interesting because he's not from the vet space. He's actually from Vice Media, and he started Vice Media's advertising agency. He's very on the cusp of like millennial, new, progressive. He's really helping push us forward in terms of how do we modernize the pet industry? How do we do new things? Because as we all know, we've got a lot of room, right, to grow. So he could be very interesting for you because he's very in tune with the millennial pet parent, but also has just fantastic branding and marketing experience.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinarynnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.